try to deny it and say that, oh, you weren't truly a believer. If you could speak to your past self 10 years ago, but limited to 3 words, what would you say? I would tell myself, I would say trust in myself, just to help myself along the process, my process of kind of coming into knowledge about certain things. I was raised a Christian, and that's all I've known my whole life. I've had, things I called supernatural experiences. I had Christian experiences. That maybe if some people who knew that I was no longer Christian heard that I did have experiences, they'd probably, try to deny it and say that, oh, you weren't truly a believer. However, when I even testified to family members or in the church, they believed me to have some sort of spiritual experiences myself. And I experienced them, so no one can take them away from me at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I was still figuring things out. I came across some information at the time, but obviously the programming I had at the time, the religious programming I had at the time, was strong enough to refute the information. And then I had an experience with a church organization, and then I also heard some things I had some truths, let me say, about the true nature of people, regardless of what religion they're in. The true nature, the fact that, at the end of the day, religion is just a costume to be put on and taken off whenever the person chooses. And to be honest, I don't hate anything. I don't hate any religious people. I don't hate religious groups. I don't hate religion in general. In fact, even when I came into metaphysical knowledge, I still claimed to be religious. I was still a believer in the Christian teachings. I was still a believer, and I realized at one point that it was, program yourself or be programmed. I'd be devoting myself to a man-made thing. So I thought instead, let me just devote myself to knowledge, devote myself to myself, and anything that can help me, which was knowledge at the time. Knowledge, anything that could help my family too. So the reason I would tell myself 10 years ago to just trust in yourself is because, at the time, obviously I would take my own experience as gospel. Just because you have experienced something, the other person hasn't experienced it, you can't force that onto them. They have to have their own individual experience. They have to know God for themselves. You can bring someone into the church or into the mosque, whatever. By the end of the day, they're gonna stay due to any experience they have for themselves. And any experience you do have is gonna happen to the point of suggestibility, to the point that you allow it to happen to you, if that makes sense. You can piece things together for yourself however you want to piece it together. With that said, if you found my take useful or interesting, subscribe if you want to hear more, and stay blessed.